Hi, I'm Mark Salisbury. Welcome to my classroom. Today I'm joined by my producer, Rico Smart, and we're going to look at driverless vehicles. Hey, Rico, would you get into a driverless taxi?
I don't know, man. I don't even like riding with you.
Well, good point. I've been driving a long time, and I like to think of myself as a great driver, much better than any machine that could break down. In fact, I like to think that I could have been a great race car driver, but thoughts about the mistakes that I've made come back to haunt me. For example, when I was in my 20s, I was at my parents' home in my hometown, and my mom asked me to pick up something for her at the local store about a mile away. And it was night and, of course, raining in our Western Oregon town. And the last thing that I remember before the accident, and that was swinging around to get close to the front door of the store. And that was the last thing I remembered. And apparently there was a loud crash, and I must have been knocked out for a minute or so. And I had not fastened my seatbelt because it was a short drive, and what could possibly happen?
I imagine you started wearing a seatbelt.
I did. That taught me a lesson, and I learned that one. But it was then that I realized that I had run into a streetlight pole, not the breakaway lightweight ones we have now, but the cast iron ones that were built to stop a log truck. And the funny thing is, I knew that pole was there. I had parked my bike against it hundreds of times while I was growing up. And I was alone. I hadn't been drinking or listening to the radio or talking to anyone else in the car. And I had totaled my car, the first one that I had bought with my own money. And to this day, I'm not sure how I had a brain failure that led to that. So I must admit, there are times when I hear a little voice in the back of my head that says, a machine may be a better driver than I am. But the question is, would I let it drive me?
The future of driving could be no one behind the wheel. At least that's what the autonomous driving tech company Waymo is hoping. To arrive at that goal, the company has started testing its self-driving cars on fast-moving highways. For tonight's In Depth, CBS's Chris Van Cleve went along for a ride.
So we're getting on the freeway.
We're on a first drive on the freeway with no one behind the wheel. It's a glimpse into the future with Waymo, the self-driving ride-hailing service owned by Google's parent company, as it prepares to take riders on the freeway.
The car stays under the speed limit, which is 65.
Riding with us is principal software engineer Pierre Kreitman.
Freeways are critical for Waymo. That's one of the number one requests we get from our riders.
And in some ways, it's a competitive disadvantage.
Right, today for long trips, Waymo is sometimes a bit slow to get to the destination.
Waymo already operates more than 150,000 paid driverless rides a week in Arizona and California, with plans to expand further to Austin and Atlanta in the coming months, as well as add freeway rides this year.
Wow. As you can see, it seems fantastic that a machine can drive a car and avoid accidents. To explain how this can be, I reached out to Dr. Pakiza Akram, Assistant Professor of Computer Science at the University of St. Thomas. Welcome, Pakiza, to The Professor is Live. I know that you teach a course on AI at the University of St. Thomas. Can you tell us how these driverless vehicles actually work?
Oh, wow, that's an amazing question to ask. So let's try to think about, if you are building one today, what will be the pieces you will be bringing in? So the first thing you have to see, and you need eye for that. So what could be an eye for this particular car? So you will be bringing in cameras, right? So you will be working on, and you are bringing the best camera in the world to capture all the information. From there, you will start working on some of the controllers which can maneuver. For example, you are not using, you steer towards right when you have to take a turn towards right. But it's a driverless car, but it still needs those steering wheels. So how they are going to work? There are controllers which are moving and maneuvering. Similarly for the brakes. Then there are tons and tons of sensors which are bringing up the information from different resources like the temperature, the condition of the road, and other aspects as well. So then think about what else is coming up. Imagine like you have to go from one place to another place. So you definitely need some kind of navigation system. In the real, like, in non-driverless cars, what you are doing, you are using GPS. So that is also one of the things which is coming up over there. Now, the best or the most distinguishing feature over here is that this car has to make decisions based on its models which are bringing in the information. So what this car is distinguished is that it has seen millions and millions of different video streams on driving on different situations, driving in different road conditions. So it can make decisions, I think, like better than the human decisions, and can avoid many accidents and problems on the road.
Yeah. I drove a friend's car not too long ago. It's totally autonomous. And so I get behind the wheel and, I'm not really driving. It's just I have to have a wheel in front of me. And you punch in the destination and off we went. And we were in a country setting in Oregon and very rural area. And what really surprised me the most is we came up to a stop sign and it like paused and it's like it's looking up and down. It's not a stop light. It's just a sign. And it pulls out on the road. I'm going, how did you know that? And so I just found that totally amazing that it can do that.
Yeah, this is again coming up from different resources. One is the camera, the other one is the GPS. Is also our GPS system is so sophisticated that it has already built in the information. Where is the stop sign? And then also connecting with the radars. This is all the information which is bringing in, and this make this driverless car drive so smooth. And if you notice, the brakes are very smooth over there, not a person who is reckless driver.
Yes, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, on a more personal note, Pakiza, I have a dream, or better said, I want to have a dream. I remember driving between Portland, Oregon and Seattle, Washington, and how sleepy I would get. And so from a technological point of view, will I soon be able to make such trips and just sleep during the drive?
Well, yeah, that will be that is totally good, and you can do that. But think about all the legal perspective in that. But again, this is going to be a good one. We sleep during our flight trips, right? When we are flying, we mostly sleep, but that's during that duration. So probably this is doable on the cars as well. With this technological advancements in driverless cars, we can definitely do that.
Okay, very good. Well, in the meantime, I'm going to look for a new pillow, and thanks for being on the show.
Sure, thank you. Have a good one.
Well, now it occurred to me that these new driverless vehicles would end up impacting public safety, well, for all of us. So I reached out to Dr. Neil Bauer, and he's public safety director and police chief for the city of Wyoming in Minnesota, to explain the possible impacts of driverless vehicles on public safety. Welcome, Neil, to The Professor is Live. So, what do you think? Can driverless vehicles have a positive effect on public safety?
Absolutely, Mark. I think, when we look at in 2024 in Minnesota alone, there were 472 deaths related to motor vehicle crashes. Alcohol was involved in just over 100 of those, and about 27 of those had some kind of distracted driving associated with it. And if automated vehicles and self-driving vehicles can reduce that or eliminate those aspects of the statistics, we can really start cutting down the number of deaths related to distracted driving and alcohol-related deaths as well. So I think there's absolutely a positive benefit for our community and safety of other drivers along the roadways.
So I just want to get clear for our viewers that basically these statistics say that the cars were fine. None of the cars quit. It was the people that caused the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we know, and I think everyone that's on the roads can see the number of people that are out texting and driving and the amount of technology that's in our vehicles now with. It's so easy to get distracted while we're driving. And if these automated vehicles can help reduce those numbers, it would definitely be a benefit.
Yeah. I was thinking, about the safety of this and you get in your car, and my wife and I are going to take a trip later this year. And how many drunk drivers you pass on the way, say, from Minnesota to Maine, right?
Sure.
And I think about that, and then I think, well, how much better would that be if we were all in autonomous vehicles? And even though we might be above the legal driving limit for alcohol, we're just past each other and maybe even nod off to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's, as automation of vehicles, there's different levels of automation. Some of them do require some driver intervention still. But if we're looking at these fully automated vehicles, I will say that there's definitely lagging laws associated with what is the responsibility of the occupants of that vehicle, depending on how much automation is involved. So, some vehicles would just keep you within the lane, but it's still your responsibility to be a driver of that vehicle versus the clip that you had shown earlier, the fully automated vehicles where there's no one even in the driver's seat. So, what does that mean for if you're leaving or having few too many beverages and thinking that where you're going to be driving from that point on, what is your involvement in that driving experience? And if it's fully automated, then our laws do need to catch up on what that means. So stay tuned for that. We're just not, the technology is ahead of the legislature, that's for sure.
Well, going with that, I get sleepy when I'm driving my car on long trips. I used to just pull over, and I still do this, and I do several laps around my car at a rest stop. And then I get back in and I go. And so do you think in the future, because this show is really about me, Neil, will I be able to sleep in my car as it drives itself?
When we get to the point where it's full automation, I think that's a very distinct possibility. I think that's probably where we're headed, and wouldn't that be glorious to be able to just take a little nap while on those long road trips when that sunshine's coming in the afternoon, and just take a little snooze for a couple minutes. That'd be great.
And I'm guessing you would still caution our audience, we're not there yet as far as
we are
policy.
Not. That is correct. We're a long ways from that, and I don't think that's coming in the next couple of years. It'll be a while on that. So.
Well, in the meantime, I'm going to endeavor to drive safely and keep myself awake. And so thanks a lot, Neil, for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. Excellent to be here. Thank you.
Well, this is starting to look like a win-win for all of us. What do you think, Rico? Would you get into a driverless car now?
Well, it does sound a lot safer than riding with you.
Well, I could agree with that. I now started to wonder what skills that people would need to operate driverless cars in the future. So I reached out to Dr. Dave Jameson, an adult learning expert, to find out what these new skills might be. Welcome, Dave, to The Professor is Live. I know that you have a lot of background on how people learn and how organizations and society evolve. What are we going to have to learn to actually use these new driverless vehicles?
Well, I think when I think of it today, I think that we're not all ready for it yet. Even though the technology and the research is moving higher and higher in terms of their statistics of no accidents and no injuries. So I think as that goes up, that will help us because we have to do unlearning really quickly. We have to do some new learning of how we sit in a car when we're not doing the 8 different habits that we're used to doing when we're in charge of the car. And then we're going to have to learn a few things about how to become comfortable and trusting while we're in a car that we're not controlling. And so I think that that the unlearning part makes the most complexity, in my opinion, because people don't let go of their habits very quickly. And the statistics will be one issue that'll help them. But on the other side of it is when they're in that car. And I know for myself, when I'm in that car, the first few times I'm going to be nervous and I'm going to be really paying attention to see if there's anything I need to do. And it would be an alert, or it would, if I'm watching the panel or I'm watching outside the car, any of those could scare me, right? So
well, I know a little bit about this because a friend of mine has one of these new autonomous cars, and he let me drive it when we were in a rural area in Oregon. And so drive it is kind of a stretch because I was just sitting in the car. And so we were zipping on these these little rural roads, and they're around farmland. So you have almost 90-degree corners, just clipping along. And I'm going, we're going too fast for this. I wanted to grab the wheel and hit the brakes, And of course, it just went right into it. I resisted, and my friend said, it's kind of like teaching your daughter to drive. You want to grab the wheel and hit the brakes. I have quite a bit to unlearn, I think, to make this work.
That's right. No, that's absolutely right. And I was thinking of the two things you just mentioned. The car is going to pick the speed, and the car is going to make the turns. And both of those may be different than what we are used to. So again, we have to get to where we're trusting the technology, because the technology is capable today. The question is, it just isn't 100% yet. And for some people, that'll keep them away. For other people, it means, well, let me get in and let me try it, because this could make the future so much easier. We'd have fantastic safety. We'd have less accidents. We might have even better insurance in the future. So all that's possible. And
I'm looking forward to that, because I used to drive between Portland, Oregon and Seattle, Washington, and I still remember how sleepy I would get.
Yeah.
And so, I think the technology is approaching it, but from a societal point of view, will I be able to make such trips and sleep during the drive?
Well, I think that's the ultimate trust that we need, because if we're keeping our eyes open. When we're sleeping, we're saying, no, I fully trust this technology now. And I think that only happens if we get in it and we experience and we grow our trust and we grow our comfort, because it's very hard to do the unlearning and the learning at the same time. And yet we have to do that. It's probably going to take a number of experiences, not just training is not going to be enough. You've got to have your body in that car. That's when you're going to learn something.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for being with us today. And in the meantime, I'm going to start looking for a pillow.
Okay. Good for you. You'll be able to do it one day. I'm sure you will.
Well, there you have it, Rico. It looks like we will have nothing to worry about with these new driverless cars.
Well, not quite. I think parents are still going to be quite concerned about what's going on in the back seat.
Well, you very well might be right, Rico. And for you folks watching, that's it for this one. We just brought in another episode for a landing. And I don't know about you, Rico, but I think we just found another thing to look forward to in the future. My chances of getting any sleep in my car aside, imagine a future where these driverless vehicles will greatly reduce traffic deaths and injuries for drivers and passengers.
And it sounds like you're channeling John Lennon.
It kind of does, doesn't it? Okay, until the next episode of The Professor is Live, remember to go to theprofessorislive.com to find the links to previous episodes on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Thanks for joining us today, and see you next time on The Professor is Live.
Watch past episodes of The Professor is Live on www.theprofessorislive.com. Videos are on YouTube's The Professor is Live channel, and podcasts are available on Apple, Spotify, and Google.